Madame,
Oh, okay. Oh, do what you got to do.
whatever.
Mm. Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to the Joe and Joe Weather Show on this Sunday, the 17th of January. And the Joe and Joe Show brought to you by our friends at Omni True Value Hardware, 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. 631-756-1125 is the telephone number, and the website is omnitruevalue.com. They've got everything you need for all those winter storms that seem to be on the horizon down the road. If this block doesn't get out of the way, we'll see. But to check out omnitruevalue.com. Not only do they have all your winter weather stuff, but pretty soon spring will be knocking on the door and you're going to need mulch. So put that on your list. And remember, they're a local business, and support your local businesses, which have had a really tough time in the last year. So omnitruevalue.com is the place to go. So welcome,
You'll need that mulch.
Joe.
You'll need that mulch before the late April blizzard.
Yeah, I guess the
That'll be when the block finally breaks down, I guess, right?
yes,
Crazy.
exactly. So welcome to everybody on the chat board this morning. I've been spending a lot of my time just trying to hang on. I gotta fix something here, Joe. Just give me a second. Uh, I'm working on one monitor now for the time being, as opposed to two monitors. So just having a little bit of an issue just trying to juggle everything around. So let me just bring up a couple of things, some subject matter here. First off, thanks for those of you who have already hit the like button. So if you haven't hit the like button, Joe and I love to get 100 likes at least, especially on a Sunday morning. It's a good thing to have happen. Also, I
We
just
have
want to,
56 people watching already, so
well, you know
that's
what?
pretty good for a Sunday morning.
Sunday morning, weather's kind of quiet. Also, I do want to point out for my those of you that are on my weather platform on Patreon, there is going to be a live weather Zoom tonight, and that's going to be at 8 o'clock Eastern time. The Zoom links will go up uh, after this live stream is over. I'll set them up, and I'll put the Zoom links up. And this is for those of you who are on my weather platform on Patreon. Again, that's at 8 o'clock Eastern time, and it's if you're interested, it's just $2 a month, and you get all sorts of extra weather, including the live weather Zooms that I try to do once a week, especially when the weather is active, which it really hasn't been. Um, anyway, I have to tell you, Joe, I had some snow here yesterday. I had a
Yeah, I
nice,
heard.
I had a nice coating of snow. I walked up to my mailbox, which is about a half-mile walk up the side of the mountain, and I noticed that the mountaintops here all have a nice snow cover. And I think I'm going to spend the afternoon. I'm going to take a ride down to Pixley and pick up a few odds and ends that I still
Well,
need.
you all know that Pixley is the big town around here.
Yeah. um, I
And if
it,
you're lucky, Joe, maybe you'll run into one of the Bradley sisters.
well,
I hear
you never
lots of
know.
curves, you bet.
Billy
Many
Joe,
more when you
yeah,
get
yeah,
to the
at the
junction.
junction, right? Billy Joe, Bobby Joe, or Betty Joe?
I have to tell you, had when I was like 13, 14 years old. Now, how many of you out there are Met fans? If you're a Met fan and you go back a ways like I do, you'll remember this. Back in '69, Joe, the championship season for the New York Mets, one of their sponsors was Royal Crown Cola.
Yes, I
And
remember
they,
RC.
RC, the
Oh,
one with the mad, mad
yeah,
taste.
right. The
And
one with the mad, mad taste.
they had a
RC.
commercial they had a commercial of Meredith McRae, who played Billy Joe
Yes.
on Petticoat Junction, and in an exceedingly tight red dress, bopping around with a bottle of RC and singing the RC Cola song. And I got to tell you, even when the Mets were being clobbered 12-2 that season, I would stick around just to wait for
Just to
that
watch. Yeah,
commercial.
well, I hear you. I hear you. So I actually I went on the Go site. I pulled up the satellite view. By the way, Joe's monitoring the chat board. So if you guys have any questions or comments, or you notice that maybe the audio dropped out or the video dropped out or something, just post it on there, and this way we can stay on top of things. So I went on the Go site, and I noticed, and this is something that I probably should pay a little more attention to, is that they've added some sectors. And they got a really cool sector here, Joe, I have to bring up because it's completely relevant to what's going on. This is the North Atlantic view. And if you ever want to see an example of what a block does, this is this is the view to look at, and this is certainly the day to look at it because the the storms that are out here, if you watch the loop very carefully, they are kind of stuck in this huge traffic jam. Uh, and they're not moving. This loop only goes back about 8 hours or so, but still, the movement of these storms is relatively minimal, and it sort of explains where we're at right now because we're not where the storms are. We are where the dry air is in between those storm systems.
The it almost looks like a pinwheel right in the middle of the monitor, right in the middle of the view there. And you're
Oh
right.
yeah.
It's a log jam. It's gridlock. There's nothing really moving, and this is so different from a year ago when we had that roaring fire hose jet stream, which was pushing everything along at record speeds. And now here we are, 1 year later, with a very blocky weather pattern. And yeah, the question now is, when is this stupid block going to break down? It looks like it's going to be here for a while.
And by the way, take a look also from the one that's in the middle there in the central Atlantic, and then you follow
Right.
the clouds up. Look at all that moisture feed that's going. It goes northward and then it turns sharply eastward. That goes right into England and Ireland. I mean, it is just shooting in there. That this you know, so they're being impacted by the block. There's a smaller storm that's south of Iceland that is moving southeastward. That looks like it's headed for northern Scotland. So the NAO is not only obviously the NAO impact has been impacting our weather, but it's had a big impact on the weather in Western Europe, and it's fed into this snowy pattern that we've seen in Europe and the cold pattern that's been in Europe. We're going to see our temperatures turn colder this week. I noticed from some comments, Joe, and I, I don't know. Some people seem to have gotten the impression that we were, that either we were or other people, certainly other people were probably, um, that we were going to have this huge blast of cold air behind this cold front that went through yesterday. That front, by the way, was strong because of what happened ahead of it, not necessarily because of what was going on behind it.
Right.
I
Right.
saw, so there was no real mention here of the fact that we were going to have some kind of bitter blast behind that front. What we're seeing this week is basically a stair-step decline in temperatures over the next 5 days, so that each of these upper troughs that are moving through. I'm going to try and get my mouse just stopped working here. Hang on a second here. I'm going to bring up the U.S. satellite view.
And I might
And
also say, Joe, that the talk about how it was going to turn bitter cold this week was due to a few articles about how the polar vortex split and how it was delivering frigid air to Europe and Asia, and how the other polar vortex is going to come down and cause frigid weather for us sometime during the upcoming week, which never really was going to be the case.
no, it
But yet
wasn't.
it's
And
amazing
go ahead. I'm sorry.
it's amazing how that kind of that rumor spread. I told you a few days ago that even my even the local town supervisor that we have here in Putnam Valley, on his Facebook page, he was saying, "Watch out! Next week we're going to see temperatures plummet through the 20s. It's going to be turning cold and the wind and terrible and blah, blah, blah." And I had to correct him. I said, "No, it's not going to be that way." at least for the next
Right.
week, it's going to continue to remain near or above seasonal normals. Now, it is going to turn chillier, as you said, Joe, during the course of this week, but it's not going to be anything off the charts, and it's not going to be anything really
No, it'll
far
be a little bit.
below
It's
what we
going to be a
normally
little
are.
bit below average, starting from
Right.
starting Wednesday and then Thursday, Thursday, Friday, and into next weekend. But it's not going to be crazy off the wall cold. I don't know that was ever indicated. By the way, I will tell you though, if you see this on, and I saw it on Facebook and I read it, and it was actually a pretty good, a pretty interesting piece. It was more meteorological, and it wasn't really what I would consider clickbait. But Severe Weather Europe is the Facebook page, and they put up an article that really kind of explained in English about the polar vortex and what's going on and the splitting and all the rest of it, and what the implications may be or may not be down the road. So if those of you who are interested, Severe Weather Europe on Facebook, give it go on that page. I can't find the link at the moment. If I get a chance, I'll get the I'll get the link, and maybe I'll be able to put it up tomorrow. But it was a very interesting read. And meanwhile, the lake effect snow machine, which has been utterly silent. That's the one remarkable thing about the pattern we've been in, Joe, is the fact that the lake effect snow machine is usually working in one form or another, but it has been really kind of dead for much of the first part of this winter. Now it's finally
Right.
woken up this week. It's busy today, and it's going to be busy all week long. There are going to be some big snow amounts in parts of western New York and into western PA.
Right. And you're right. Normally, at this time of the year, especially, it's almost a daily occurrence where we read about lake effect being lake effect advisories being up for some part of Western New York. And you're absolutely right, Joe. They did have, I think, right around the end of the year, Buffalo, if I recall, had
Yeah.
something like 20 inches of snow, but it's been more or less dormant ever since.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see on the U.S. Satellite loop here how things are in generally, not really moving very much. You have another upper trough to the west, a sort of sprawling upper low and trough that is coming on the heels of the system that is sitting now in Gulf of Maine, Nova Scotia. There's no room here. Not only is there no room, but there's really very little for this to, excuse me, there's very little moisture for this to work with. So we're just going to see. I think all we're going to see over the coming days are either weak upper troughs that will swing through from time to time, and I think we might even throw the occasional weak cold front in there to sort of facilitate this stair step decline in temperatures, and that's about the most exciting thing that happens.
Right. And uh, eventually this is all going to change. I can assure you it will change. I think, Joe, a lot of people, um, from my postings on Facebook over the recent last few days, a lot of people have already thrown in the towel saying winter is over. I still
Oh,
can't believe that. Now,
it's really out of control now.
meteorological winter was just a couple of days. The middle of meteorological winter was just a couple of days ago. And look what you got out of the first half of meteorological winter. You did indeed get a big snowfall. You got 10.5 inches, which, by the way, a little bit is still on parts of my property
I
after
saw
the
that.
after the extremely warm Christmas day with temperatures in the 60s, the rain, the fog, and then Friday night and Saturday morning, I had over an inch of rain on top. You would think it would all be gone. No, I still have a little bit of lingering, even this morning, still have a little bit of lingering snow from that snowfall. So look, you got a big snowfall in the first half of meteorological winter. Now we're going into the second half. It's only halfway through the winter season, meteorologically speaking, and people are already throwing in the towel and saying that's it, it's all over. I don't understand that.
I think it's temper tantrums by infants. Really, no, seriously. If you read some of the stuff, if you really read how a lot of how the sentences are phrased, the first thing that comes to mind is, to me, it's like you're throwing a temper tantrum. What's worse, you're angry at me. I didn't do this. I certainly don't have any control over what happens. So why are you angry with me? And It's weather, for God's sake. This is how it works. Joe, I had let me come off the let me just say about the radar. I know it's the Weather Service's radar. I have to use what's working right now because I'm still trying to figure out everything technically. So I wanted to just show the lake effect, particularly around Syracuse, and also the snow that's going on back in the upper Midwest. This is all light stuff that is rotating around the next trough that's moving eastward. And the bottom line is that all of that is going to not get here. So I'm sorry, let me just come back to full screen here for just a moment. I actually had someone point out that that the Northeast now gets winters that North Carolina used to get, which I thought was one of the more ridiculous statements I've ever
What
seen.
and what part of North Carolina? Cape Hatteras or maybe Asheville?
Essentially, I guess so. They weren't really specific, but and I want to hook this up to that article that I read about from Severe Weather Europe with regards to the splitting of the polar vortex. They pointed out that the pattern is very similar across the northern hemisphere with the splitting of the vortex and how things have behaved. It's been similar to the winter of 1928, 1929. So I went back and I looked at the snowfall for New York City in that winter for 1928, 29, and it was all of 13 inches for the whole season. Now, I also looked at the surrounding years. That was in the middle of a stretch of 5 consecutive winters of subnormal snow of 20 inches or less. So, and then if you look at the 20s and the 30s, we had just come out of a cycle of very snowy and cold winters that goes back almost to the start of the recording of observations in 1869. So in that 20-year period, almost all the winters had below normal snowfall. You could just cherry pick maybe a couple of them that had above normal. Kind of reminded me of the 70s, 80s, and 90s, which were 25 out of 30 winters were below average. So please don't sit here, and not just from snowfall, by the way. I'm talking about in terms of temperatures, also that they were warmer winters. So, please don't sit here and make for some person to make a comment that the Northeast doesn't get cold winters anymore, that we get winters like, we're getting the climate of North Carolina. It's just really silly. I mean, that's just a silly, silly statement.
Yes,
And
it
it's
is.
not supported. Here it is. And here's the other part of it, Joe. I'm sorry. The other part of it is the statement is driven purely by your anger and your emotion, and it's not driven by the statistics. It's very easy to pull up climate statistics. So whenever those of you who are watching, when you feel that anger, that it's not snowing nonstop from November 1st to Memorial Day. So basically from Halloween to Memorial Day, every single day, when you feel that anger coming on, you need to go back and look at stats, because I think your perception of what winters are in the Northeast, both at the coast and in inland areas, is a little bit distorted. That's all.
That's it.
I had my
That's
rant
it.
for the day.
and it's only 11:17 in the morning.
That's
So
correct.
you're pretty well done for the rest of the day. So I agree with you. It's and we saw this. We've seen this every single year. And what was it, about 2-3 years ago? People threw in the towel by the early part of February, and that was when we were beginning to see a change in the pattern and alluding to big changes by the time we got to the end of February. And what happened? In March, we had not one, not two, but four nor'easters, each one bringing a copious amount of wintry conditions and snow.
Yeah.
So
You
you
have to
never know.
just you go with what's in front of you, not with your
Right.
when you're looking at this stuff. And I tell this to the young folks that are really interested in weather and want to make it a career for themselves, especially because they enjoy forecasting and the challenge of it. Once they get over the wish casting need that is there, once you lose that, work with what's in front of you, not not what you want to be in front of you. And sometimes it's going to lead you to conclusions in one direction, and sometimes it's going to lead you in conclusions in other directions. And sometimes it's going to leave you in a place where you have to honestly throw your arms up in the air and say, I don't know. It's perfectly okay to say, I don't know. I'm not sure. I need to look at this with deeper. I need to look at this, you know, maybe tomorrow where I might see things differently. It's okay to do that. And by the way, on the
Yes.
surface, yeah, and on the surface map, there's a storm in in Maine, a low in Maine that extends east across New Brunswick. And given the blocky scenario that we're in, we're probably likely to see this thing hang around for a while in one form or another.
Now you see, Adam Lowe, I'm monitoring the chat board here. Adam Lowe said, well, last year I threw in the towel in December, and I was correct. But this year I have not yet thrown in the towel. With all this blocking, we must get one big snow. I guess he meant snowstorm. But
Right.
I agree with you. We probably will get one last big snow or
Yeah,
snowstorm
but
or
you know,
whatever you
I
want
don't
to
even
call it.
see the point of throwing, quote unquote. I don't even see the point of throwing in the towel. I mean, I just don't. I enjoy, you know, whatever happens, happens. I have no control of that. So, you know, to give up hope in early December is, I don't know.
I'm
It's not.
giving up hope, Joe.
I know. I mean, it's not like, you know, this it's weather. That's all I'm going to say. It's just weather. We just go with go with what's going on and follow the changes. If you want to throw in the towel at the before winter's even gotten underway, that's certainly your choice to do. I don't understand why anybody would do that.
I mean, if you're looking for a cheap thrill, and we haven't even gone into the discussion about what we can expect locally here for the next week or so. But I mean, if you're looking for a cheap thrill, look out your window at noontime on Wednesday, inauguration day, and no, that's not confetti. That might very well be a few snow flurries or snow showers falling
Right.
as the cold winds start to blow and bring in a somewhat chillier air mass. It's not a big snowstorm, but it's the best that we can hope for this upcoming week.
And WPC agrees with you, Joe, because right through next Sunday morning, not a flake, not an ice pellet, not a raindrop, nothing from Northern
Yep.
Virginia up into Maine. A big, giant uh, hole there
Oh,
of no precip. And you don't see that very often in the month of January.
yeah, it's not. It really doesn't look like a hole. It looks more like a chasm
Yes, exactly.
or a chasm,
And meanwhile,
whatever.
because everything is getting suppressed to the south, you're seeing more rain. Most of this is actually going to be rain, if not all of it, from northeast Texas across through the Carolinas, with rainfall amounts, still on the order of several inches in some places over the next 7 days.
And
The Southwest. Go ahead. I'm
don't mean to
sorry.
interrupt, but I mean, don't mean to interrupt you, but I mean, I'm looking more. The more I look at uh, that map from WPC, I mean, you realize how crazy that is. We're talking about a full 7 days worth of quantitative precipitation, and what WPC is saying in the middle to latter part of January is, as you just said at the onset, Joe, not a flake, not a raindrop, not an ice pellet, nothing for our area.
No,
That is
right.
so weird in the month of January,
But
anytime in the month of January.
But at the same time, though, take a look up in upstate New York. It's not that far of a drive to Syracuse and also to
Right.
southwestern New York, to Jamestown, where the lake effect machine is going to be working overtime. So you are seeing liquid precip amounts well in excess of an inch to 3/4 of an inch to an inch and a half. So there are going to be some big snow amounts there. Also in West Virginia, from Southwest PA, in that stripe that goes down where the Appalachians, kind of reach up and come to an end. But you see the precip there also on the heavy side in eastern West Virginia, and into West Virginia. Now, the further south you go, it's more rain than anything else, but it is going to be snow in West Virginia itself. Also, the Southwest is actually pretty busy, and we're seeing precip in southern New Mexico, Arizona, and Southern California. which is for Southern California anyway, certainly a good thing because they don't want to put themselves into another one of those long-term droughts. And the Pacific Northwest has been kind of quiet, relatively speaking. I mean, they are showing, half an inch to an inch and a quarter of liquid, but that's spread out over 7 days. That's not anything crazy. And some precip up in the northern and central Rockies and back in the Wasatch in Utah. But overall, yeah, that's weird. That is, you hardly ever see a dry patch like that in January. That's really
Right.
unusual. Okay, so
Yeah.
let's.
And this,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, as I say, this week, we're talking again about turning chillier. There really is. It's the core of some really intense cold is over James Bay at midweek, and it kind of is oozing southward, and we are just getting into the barest edge of that ooze, if you will, during the day on Wednesday. But already by the time we get to Thursday, from what I'm looking at here, all of that cold air is already lifting out to the north and east, and so whatever we do see in terms of colder conditions will be rather short-lived. It'll
But
be
there'll be another.
it'll
There's going to
last
be
all
another
of,
shot though. There's going to be another push though that comes later Friday and for next weekend because there's another high coming
yeah,
down.
but not. I don't think though. Maybe I think the more intense of the two shots is going to be the one on Wednesday. And yeah,
All
you're
right.
right.
Well,
It'll turn colder again when we
yeah.
get to next weekend.
Well,
But you're
let's.
looking for those bitter cold.
I'm going to
You're
run
looking for
through.
those bitter cold temperatures. It's
Yeah.
not happening.
No, no, certainly not. Frankly, it saves on your marginal cold is fine by me. It a little, near or a little bit below normal is okay. The when you start to get into those, get those really cold winters and they're eating up your heating oil and the heating oil and your heating oil bill is going through the roof. You're better off with marginal cold. So let's run through the teleconnections. Where we continue to see the NAO right through the rest of the month and into the first days of February staying uh, staying negative. You get a few members that start to bring it up a little bit toward the end of the forecast period, but all the members seem to be a negative for the next 2 weeks. Plus, the Arctic oscillation, interestingly enough, is negative. Some members keep it off the wall negative, by the way, through the end of the 60 days, but you do have a few of them that are trying to show some kind of a spike occurring um, toward during next week, and that might be why the models are maybe trying to show something breaking through this block to bring some precip in, say maybe next Tuesday or Tuesday, late next Tuesday seems how what the time frame. And the last thing is the PNA, which I brought up the wrong one. So hang on a second. Let me get the PNA up here, the Pacific North America Index. And that is going negative, and actually is going strongly negative next week. And I've been theorizing that may actually be a positive development for snow lovers, if only due to the fact that it will open the door to perhaps less suppression because the PNA going negative means that a ridge is going to try to or want to try to push up in the east, but that's being counteracted by that negative North Atlantic oscillation. So there's going to be some kind of battleground going on here, and so again, you certainly, you certainly can look at this by saying, well, we've had these teleconnections that have been supposedly in our favor, and they haven't done us any good because everything's been sort of, the troughs aren't and ridges are all in the wrong spot. Well, normally the negative PNA would not be a positive development, but perhaps in this case it might be. So let's see. Let's see the new GFS because much of it is out. I just want to point, Joe, on the European yesterday and last night, starting to show that maybe something is going to try to break through this blocky pattern. Here's the upper low that swung through Friday night into Saturday yesterday, swinging on up into eastern Canada. You can see the building block over Greenland and the Davis Strait that hangs around all of this coming week uh, and into next weekend. Now, of course, you've got some of this energy coming into the Pacific. I think the models are having a difficult time reconciling the strength of that blocking high. Joe, that's a big block in northeastern Canada. So anything that's going to come east is going to want to, I think, is going to want to be more south than anything else. And I think you're going to see models try to do the opposite at first, and maybe we'll see that further south, further south, further south as we go through this week and look at the developments on some of the models.
It's very strange. You look at the upper air, and you've got this very dynamic looking closed upper air system that just came by during this weekend, but that kind of sheared off to the north. Then you've got another one coming in for um, uh, the midweek period. Actually, you actually have an upper air system moving through tomorrow, but that too kind of shears off to the north and kind of flattens out. All of these systems that seem to come into our range of influence seemingly are, just they just don't have the oomph, so to speak, to intensify. They all seem to be spreading out or flattening out. Somebody asked on the chat board about, aren't there any Alberta clippers coming by? Well, there is some sort of a clipper-like system coming through. That's the one I mentioned for Inauguration Day on Wednesday, but that really doesn't have much of a punch to it. There's another one that kind of comes down from Alberta, but flattens out by the end of the week on Friday. And then you look off to the south and west, and you say, well, aren't there any, Baja systems, closed systems that eventually open up and kick north and eastward and maybe develop some kind of a major coastal system? There is one that looks like it's trying to develop by next Sunday, by next weekend, but that too kind of just like flattens out and heads up into the Great Lakes.
Right.
So
Well,
until we,
that was on the 6Z run. The 0Z, the 18Z, and the 12Z runs yesterday were actually quite, bringing, tried to show a major storm going through the box. Well developed. But of course, the problem here is, Joe, is I think the problem is a matter of room. There's no room. Look at the Atlantic. Look at what we showed you on the satellite. We showed on the satellite before, and the block and the blocking and where the blocking is set up. There's only so much room in the atmosphere for stuff to happen, and I think what we're seeing here is a complete lack of room.
I
That's
just
kind of how it boils down to it, in my view.
here's a good analogy. I think this is great for even those who are not so inclined meteorologically or whatever. Picture this in your mind. You're in the subway, right? And you're waiting for the train that you want to, take you to your home base. The train arrives. Now well, actually, it's not you. It's somebody else. It's somebody who's a really hefty guy. Let's say 6'5", 6'7", maybe close to 300 pounds, and he's standing there waiting to get on board the train. Here comes the train. The train arrives. The doors open up, and what happens? He looks inside, and the train is absolutely packed with people. And this guy who represents the potential storm looks at that and say, I don't think so. I'll stand here and I'll wait for the next one. The doors close, poof, and that's it. And it's basically what we have here on the weather
Yeah.
map. As you just mentioned, there's no room for any kind of significant storm to step in and develop. So we're playing the waiting game until it becomes less blocked up, whenever the heck that may be.
Well, I'm looking at this particular. I got the new run of the GFS, which kind of plays off the overnight European and the 6Z GFS, where again this issue of room. You mentioned about Alberta clippers. You could see there's a little low there up in northern Lake Superior, but again, that the lack of room and the lack of digging takes that weak low into upstate New York. And this is on Wednesday morning, little weak upper trough and cold front. Actually, a new low forms near Nova Scotia. Here comes a stronger clipper coming down. That runs up also well to our north, pushes. I think if you want to really make a case here, if you want to make it a stretch, there's a little bit of let's call it a warmish front for Wednesday night into Thursday that produces some snow in upstate New York and in western PA, and some of the blue kind of reaches into the Catskills. So maybe there's a snow shower with that as it goes by. Then you've got a high that comes down, rather sizable high, and colder air for Friday into the weekend. The weekend does look cold. Now here comes the system, the next one that's coming out of the west. You got this low in Kansas. And see, here's the thing that bothers me about this. it tries to take this low up toward the northern great. It's got a low in northern Michigan, Joe, with a warm front. I mean, this would kind of imply a front end thumping possibility here for next Monday into Monday night for the Northeast. Starting, it does show freezing rain down into Virginia. This is usually a sign to me that there's like some kind of cold front with a little bit of wedging. But what's bothersome to me about this whole idea of taking a load so far north is the fact that you still have this block. I mean, it's not like the block goes away. So why all of a sudden would a low want to come out of California, move into Kansas, and then run up toward Michigan? Now, it does redevelop south of Long Island, but why would you take? I'm asking, given the way everything is set up and the suppressive nature of all of this, why do we suddenly wind up taking a primary that goes up toward northern Michigan? I'm not understanding that. I'm
Well, if
not.
you look at the upper air with that, if you look at the upper air with that system from late Monday into Tuesday, the 25th and 26th, you've got what appears to be some kind of a shortwave that's trying to dig south and east, and it looks pretty good. Except, and it even closes off over upstate New York by the time we get to Tuesday morning, the 26th. But unfortunately, all the dynamics is such that it looks like whatever comes out of this is going to be to our north and east.
Right.
And
But is that,
so what?
but is that correct? That's my question here, though. Is that correct? Uh,
Well, if you want to get, if you might want to hope for this to be even more of a digger, and maybe instead of digging across northern Michigan, the UP of Michigan, and through Lake, what is that? Lake Huron? Is that Lake
right.
Huron?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Instead of that, maybe you might want to have it dig more across the lower peninsula of Michigan, across the
Well,
Ohio Valley.
well,
That would
that's
be nice.
that's my point, though. There's all higher than normal pressures up to the northeast of it. So, I mean, why all of a sudden is that going to be so far north? Why does it take it so far north into that very, very strong block? I'm not quite getting this. The other thing is, I just want to go back. Let's just go back to yesterday afternoon's run with this, which was, you know, quite interesting uh, in many respects. And here's where you had a totally different scenario, Joe. You got the northern stream. The northern stream of the jet was kept completely separate from the south in the runs of yesterday, and you actually had this several contour cutoff in the southern part of the jet. Here's the northern part here, and that kind of rolled along and moved off the New Jersey coast. So this is totally different from what's being shown now, where you
Right.
have the southern system actually winds up lifting northeastward toward the western lakes, the
Right.
western and
Right.
central lakes, as opposed to being ejected straight eastward. And again, I go back to the fact that if you look at Thursday's system, there's a system that's moving across the south Thursday into Friday, which was one that back last week some of the models were bringing it up here, and in reality, it winds up getting it's now suppressed so far south that you can't even get precip up into you barely get precip up into to southern Virginia out of it. So I'm at a stage right now where I'm very skeptical of runs in either direction. I think the models just are going to continue to have a big issue with regards to where all of this is going to be going in the medium and longer term. What
I'll tell you something. If things were reversed, if, for example, the upper air that I'm looking at for today's 12Z run were yesterday's 12Z run, and yesterday's 12Z run was today, I'd start getting excited. I'd tell you, my goodness, it looks like that block is indeed holding firm, Joe, and is going to force that upper system to our south. I mean, I'm looking yesterday at all the tremendous height falls
right?
across Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Northern Virginia. Wow, that would be a signal, but instead it is quite the opposite. And yeah, I wonder too, why is it that with that such
Because
a
if
strong block, why is it now that that thing is flying to our north and not showing as much
Right.
intensity as
And
how it
also,
drove
let's
up?
go back to Friday and Thursday and Friday in the long range. The system for for early next week, the week of the 25th, 26th, the one we're talking about, that one was being shown as being suppressed way to the south. I mean, basically across the Gulf states with the snow in Jess Harden land in Alabama and here in North Georgia. So we've seen it now. We've seen it go from taking a track basically just north of I-10, okay, to somewhere lower Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley to the East Coast. Now it's gone even further. So we've made a jump from the southern part of the United States to the northern part of the United States. And I think, I just think that there's going to be this is not the final scenario. I find it hard to believe that the GFS and the models 9 days ahead of time have already figured out that it's going to the great, the primary is going to go to the lakes, and there's not going to be more fine tuning in this. The block is going to have a lot to say, I think, ultimately into where this all winds up. In my always never to be humble opinion.
Humble opinion.
Yes, exactly. By the way, a couple of super chat hits, it seems. And we have Izzy D hitting super chat today, Jess Kaplan, Scott Briller, the chairman. The only thing that is definite is the Joe and Joe. Thank you, Scott, very kind. I'm almost embarrassed to say it because I'm turning red. He says the best meteorologist on the planet. Thank you. And Robert Russo, thank you also for your generosity. So everybody, those of you who've hit super chat, thank you. 92 likes. Could we kind of get 8 more? Can you sort of nudge it up, folks, to get it over 100, please? And 152 viewers right now. Thank you very much, all of you, for taking time out of your Sunday for being here. So we have our Sunday morning cooking Briller Jeopardy that is brought to you by the executive producer herself.
Before, I'm sure she's hearing, she's upstairs. Wait a minute, no, she's down here. She's already running to get into our Joe
She's
and Joe
running to
studio.
throw you off the air, Joe.
Before we get to her, I just want to get to a question that was brought to the floor by Tim Veltman, a quick Jeopardy question in honor of another Texas snowstorm. This goes back several days. And here's the Jeopardy answer. The last date Austin, Texas recorded at least 1 inch of snowfall from a storm since records began in 1927. That's the Jeopardy answer. So what was the last time that Austin, Texas recorded at least 1 inch of snow from a storm since records began in 1927?
I am going to say, oh God, I don't know. I want to say that it's happened in the last 20 years.
Yes, it has.
Okay.
Yes, it has, as Mr. Ortori used to say.
So I'm going to use my head here. I'm just going to kind of break it down. So the last time.
Don't use your head, Ralph, because if you use your head,
if you think,
you get into trouble.
Yeah, I'm going to say you know what? I'm going to say that it's either 2009, the winter of 2009, 2010, or 2010, 2011. Because I'm thinking that those were 2 big NAO years, and that kind of matches up with what we got. No? All right. Well, it was,
And the question was, what was February 14th, Valentine's Day, 2004?
Oh, I would never have known that.
1.6 inches of snow that day in Austin. Closest they came since then was, not in the way you were right here, 0.9 inches on February 4th, 2011. And the last time at least 2 inches fell in Austin was January 2nd, the day after New Year's, 1989. Believe it or not, they had just shy of 4 inches of snow on that day, 3.9 inches in Austin, Texas.
All right. Okay, so let's talk food. And I haven't even had breakfast yet, by the way.
Well,
I have to, I'm going to have to go to the hen house in a little while.
My deputy dog.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Okay. Are you excited for this morning's Sunday morning's Jeopardy?
Yeah, why not? Let's see how much how if the first time we did this I did pretty good. Last time I didn't do so hot. So let's see if the downtrend continues.
Well, I think the first one's pretty darn easy. Thank you, Scott Briller, for the Jeopardy questions this morning. Okay, we've got 10 questions plus the bonus. Here we go. All of the following are examples of a flambe, except for one. Is it A, Steak Diane, B, Bananas Foster, C, Cherries Jubilee, or D, Crepes Maria?
What was the first choice?
Steak Diane, B, Bananas Foster, C, Cherries Jubilee, or D, Crepes Maria?
I'll say the steak Diane, but I honestly don't know the answer
You
to
know
that.
what? That's what I think the answer is too. And here he's got answer D, Crepes Maria.
I don't even know. I don't know. I don't even know
Diane.
I don't know Maria Crepes. Do you know her? I
No,
don't.
I've never heard of her.
You know, I'm not sure.
Okay, well, somebody's going to have to look that one up. See, Christinapedia says Steak Diane. So does Jason.
Okay.
So I think
So
that's really the answer. Steak Diane, I think, is basically a steak in some sort of like a sauce.
right.
Meat sauce. So okay. Anyway, all righty. Here we go with question number 2. A roux would be made with equal parts flour
Oh wait,
and
a roux?
a roux
Spell that.
is ROUX. A roux.
Oh, a roux, whatever that is. Okay, go on.
Okay, you don't watch the cooking channel very much.
I watched,
Me
I
too.
watch from time to time. I really I try to watch Lydia and occasionally the
Big
bear
Joe loves Lydia. Yeah.
yeah and the Barefoot Contessa. Um,
hmm
but yeah, I really don't watch a whole lot of cooking shows. But go on.
Anyway, a roux is made out of equal parts of flour and what? Sugar, butter, water, or vinegar.
A roux.
A roux.
ROUX, you
X.
said?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm I'm gonna try to do this
Equal
by
parts
okay.
flour and what? So again,
Flour and
flour and what?
water would I'm gonna eliminate, which probably means that's the right answer, but I will eliminate that. Um, okay, so I'm not thinking it's flour and butter, so that leaves flour and vinegar, and what's the other choice?
Sugar.
I can't imagine why you would put flour and vinegar together, so let's go flour and sugar.
The answer is butter.
It is
A roux
butter.
is basically that paste that you need in order to make a
Pie,
sauce,
a sauce?
whether it
Okay.
be gravy, whether it be gravy like brown gravy,
Mm-hmm.
or you need a roux to make a cheese sauce for macaroni and cheese. So that's what a roux is. And if
Okay.
you watch any kind of cooking shows, even the Barefoot Contessa makes
I know. I mean,
roux.
she probably on the shows that I've watched her didn't have any need to make a roux. Okay.
Okay. Number 3, what type of cookware is stir fry usually cooked in? Is it a saucepan, a wok, rice cooker,
Well, don't they use a
bake, or
wok to
steam?
do to stir fry?
That's correct, a wok.
Okay, so I got one right.
Question number 4. Coq au vin is a
Coq au
classic
vin, yes. They used to
is a
have it all the
classic
time on
French
Bewitched.
dish
Yes.
with what as main ingredient?
Isn't it
A
chicken?
chicken?
It's chicken.
Chicken, yes. Very good. Okay, question number 5. What are canopies? Is it a savory dessert pastry, meat and cheese plates, small open-faced sandwich?
Oh, it's the dessert pastry.
Okay, the answer is supposed to be C.
Now, see, I know it's
Small
a.
open-faced sandwich. That's we're talking about canopies. Canopies, you hand out canopies at a dinner party before dinner, or
Oh, that's right. Because I was thinking of the I Love Lucy episode where she was serving canopies and she said they're really gooey. Okay,
oh, I guess they could be. Depends on what's on your
I thought they
canopy.
were
Anyway,
dessert.
no, it's that's what you serve as appetizers.
Yeah, like pigs in a blanket.
Yes, yes. Okay. Question number 6. When you coat a food in flour and breadcrumbs before frying, it is called A, deglazing, B, dredging, or C, dressing.
I'll say the
When
second one,
when you coat, right, that would be dredging.
dredging. I dredged.
Question.
I dredged just the other day with boneless chicken thighs. But go on.
That's right.
But I digress. Go on.
What does the term baste mean? Does it mean cook overnight, cook on high, or bathe food in its juices?
Bathe.
What does bathe food in its juices? Question number 8. How many teaspoons make 1 tablespoon?
3.
Very good. And what does julienne mean? Does it mean to chop into cubes, toss everything together, marinate overnight, or cut into thin strips?
The thin strips.
Okay,
Thin
very good.
strips.
Question number 10. The average person consumes how many pounds of grapes a year?
Okay, since I really don't care for grapes, but go on.
Is it A, 4 pounds, B, 8 pounds, C, 12 pounds, or D, 16?
The average person?
Average
Okay,
person
so
consumes
now
how
here's my
many
question.
grapes?
Does part of that consumption include wine, since wine is made from grapes? Because
I don't know.
if the answer to that question is yes, then the answer to your question is that the numbers don't go high enough. Okay, so
I would guess it
I,
means just eating raw grapes.
I can't conceive of eating 4 pounds of grapes in a year, but they are very popular. Most people do get them, so I will say it's either going to be. I'll rule out the bottom number and the top number and leave it between the middle two. So I'll go for the what was it? 12?
The 8 pounds or 12 pounds?
12. I'll say 12.
Okay, the answer was B, 8 pounds.
Okay, but my logic was there. It was going to be 8 or 12, so I went 12.
Okay. Bonus question. What is the chairman's favorite soft drink? It's worth 2 points, he says.
Okay.
Is it a Diet Coke, a Snapple, a Pepsi, or a cream soda, or a ginger ale?
You know what? I'm
Joe
gonna
likes this too, by the
I'm
way.
gonna say cream soda because most it would not be on the list. I don't believe it would be put on the list randomly as one of the choices. So I'm gonna say cream soda, which
Cream
I by the
soda
way,
it is.
I abhor. I
Joe happens to like cream soda as well.
no,
Yeah,
cream
yeah.
soda is no.
Something
It's a
different.
big negative. Well, that
Cream
was
soda.
fun. Actually, I didn't. It was I started a slow start, but a strong finish. I think today for these
Not bad.
questions.
You
Yeah,
did okay. But I'm surprised for someone who is really into cooking like you are. You don't watch more of the cooking shows, Food Channel,
I
and so
don't. Honestly, because I honestly don't watch a lot of television in general. So, and I don't always. The TV is not on a lot. So if I happen to turn it on and it's a cooking show, like on Sundays, I'll watch Lydia because I do enjoy the Italian stuff that she does.
I love Lydia.
Lydia's very good,
on.
very good, very inspiring. Um,
Mhm.
Sometimes every once in a while I'll watch what was it the one on what channel is it where they do the Chopped? I'll watch Chopped.
Mm-hmm.
And where they give you like all these weird combination ingredients and you have to come up with
Bizarre
something.
foods, and you're like,
You know,
what?
one time I watched it and they gave them ghost peppers to work with, and um, one of them actually used it as part of the ingredient of what they made, and then they come and tell you, they told them afterwards, says, you know, you realize that someone can die from eating a ghost pepper, and I'm thinking, why would you even put that as an
Put it in the
ingredient?
bag. Oh
What's
wow.
that?
And yeah, why would they put that in the basket? Yeah.
Yeah, they put a ghost pepper in the basket. And I mean, a few of them just kind of use it as a garnish, but I wouldn't even put it on somebody's plate. For Christ's sake, you could kill somebody with a ghost pepper.
Is that a really sharp hot pepper?
Oh, yeah, no, it's out of control. It'll make your eyes fall out. It
Yeah,
makes a
yeah, yeah.
it makes a jalapeno look like a breath mint. Okay. So,
My
yeah.
my favorite my favorites as far as cooking shows is concerned is America's Test Kitchen.
Oh, I love
Um,
no, I love that. Renata, I love
they go
America's Test
through it.
Kitchen.
Yeah, yeah. They go through that very thoroughly and they explain the science and everything. And Good Eats, too, with Alton Brown.
I haven't
He
seen
explains
that.
the science. He has the goofy characters in there sometimes to explain the science, but it
America's
doesn't just
Test Kitchen showed a real
always
years
like
ago. America's Test Kitchen years ago showed a way of cooking a roast beef at a low temperature with a digital thermometer, so that it comes out perfectly medium rare from the one end through the middle to the other. And
Mhm.
I followed that that scheme that they showed, and I have to tell you, it's perfect every single time. You will never overcook a roast beef ever again. You cook it at 200, and if I remember correctly, you cook it at 225 degrees with a digital thermometer until it reaches 115. When the meat temperature reaches 115, you turn the oven off and you let the meat sit in the oven until the temperature rises to 130, because it keeps rising, because the heat just
Right,
doesn't go away in the oven, it still says warm. You
right.
take it out at 130, when you do that and you slice it, it's absolutely perfect medium rare from one end to the other. It's cooked. It's
Mhm.
amazing how that comes out. Yeah, I enjoy America's Test Kitchen very much.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
Okay. Oh, all right. I'm going to
So,
say
yeah, get Mr. Ham
Sunday morning
sandwich.
to everybody, and we're going to switch chairs again. Okay. Take care.
Take care, Renata.
And
Well,
off
that
she
was
goes.
interesting.
We're
I
we're we're in the midst of taking our tree down, believe it or not.
well,
Oh, these are yours, dear.
by the
All
way,
right.
we're wrapping up the show with 112 likes, and thank you very much.
Knock knock.
Knock knock. And once again, just as a
Oh
reminder,
no. I said knock knock, Joe.
who's there?
Accordion.
Accordion who?
Accordion to the newspaper. It's going to get sunny later today.
Oh, good Lord. Oh, God. Oh,
You
Joseph.
know who we ought to bring on? You know who we
Oh,
ought to bring on as a guest? And
somebody who responds to an email.
yeah, wouldn't it be great if we get Norm Devoskin to come on and just have him crack jokes for a half an hour?
Oh, I'd love to have Norm on, but this, I hope maybe he knows how to use Zoom. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a
See,
good question. He might not know how to use it.
if you have his email, because I don't, if you want to reach out to him, he's probably out playing tennis anyway, because he loves to play tennis.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Let me just remind everybody tonight on my weather platform on Patreon is Zoom night, and that'll be at 8 o'clock Eastern time. So to my Patreon members who are watching the show, mark it down. The links will be up shortly. If you're not a member of Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/meteorologist Joe Cioffi, and it's just $2 a month. for the base tier, and appreciate the support. So thank you very much for considering it. And you and I are back tomorrow at, looks like, I think I got all the little technical bugs worked out. I'm almost afraid to say it, but I've been trying to figure the optimal streaming speed and range, and I seem to have kind of hit on something here. I'm kind of sort of in a comfortable zone. So let's hope that continues tomorrow. So have a great Sunday.
You too, sir, and we'll see you all tomorrow night.
See you tomorrow night, everybody.